Ladies and gentlemen, hello everyone. You are once again welcome here on the Tribune of Awakening Consciousness. So, Russia is raising the stakes in Brussels. Russia is dividing the European allies. Europe is holding its breath in relation to a grand event that Russia has decided to organize in Moscow on May 9th, 2025. This event is the celebration of victory of Russia during the Second World War. And this event will see the mobilization of all the countries of the world to come and celebrate Russia's victory. This celebration will feature a military parade. The purpose of this military parade will be to showcase the former strength of Russia, that is, the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, was strong in what? They will present some samples of the old military equipment that was used by the Soviets and allowed them to have the upper hand over others. And beyond that, they will present. Russia will present. It will therefore present new modern, ultra-modern equipment which sufficiently demonstrates that if before, despite the limited means in terms of technology and military equipment of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Russia, the Soviets were able to achieve victory. Today, with the development of technology and the ultra-modern technologies that Russia possesses, anyone who would attempt, it would be the continuation of the Russian victory. And this also coincides with the situation in Ukraine, where Russia emerges victorious, as the United States of America has come to bow down in front of the boss of the Kremlin. So, it's a parade of great magnitude. And you know Vladimir Putin. He knows very well how to do things that hurt. Yes, the word is well chosen. Putin knows very, very well how to do things that hurt. So, he will ensure that the frustration that will be injected into the bodies of the Westerners who provoked the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics from 1940 and onwards, 1945, that these people understand that we are doing things that are not good, that one cannot provoke Russia without Russia claiming victory. So it will be another very strong message to send to all of Europe. And that is why, on the side of Brussels, the European Union is very upset because this mafia-like organization has learned that there are European countries that would like to participate. Yes, but listen. And Russia is not at war with these European countries. Russia has a conflict with Ukraine. So celebrate the Russian victory in Moscow. And the sovereign countries of Europe who will be invited can attend. And when I talk about this, I think of Viktor Orban's Hungary. I also think of Robert Fico from Slovakia. So, Kadias Kallas. Yes. One of the top officials of the European Union comes out and issues a very serious warning, meaning the European Union as a whole officially prohibits all member countries of the European Union and their allies from setting foot in Moscow. Already, the day itself has not yet arrived. They themselves are starting to suffer first. And that's the desired effect by Vladimir Putin. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we are going to talk about, this warning from the European Union regarding this parade that will take place in Moscow. But before continuing, I ask you to share this video conference. It needs to be shared as much as possible. Share it in all possible groups, give it lots of likes, and for those who are not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the page. So, what's happening? What needs to be said is that the European Union is threatening to sanction those who will participate in the victory parade in Moscow on May 9th, according to official information. Many ministers have stated that the European Union is taking trips to Moscow for the May 9th celebration seriously, and that they would have consequences. Here is what Kallas declared. The European Union is asking the Western Balkan countries wishing to join the European Union to avoid the May 9th parade in Moscow. That is to say, even countries that are not yet members of the European Union but aspire to join the European Union are being asked to avoid participating in this parade that will take place in Moscow. In other words, Russia is thus becoming a real nightmare for the Westerners. So, what is said, according to Kalas, such participation will not be taken lightly by the European Union. I had said, if you want to have the chance to join the European Union, if you participate, one of the conditions is not to participate in this parade. If you participate in this parade, you will automatically face the consequences, meaning you will find yourself blocked from joining the European Union. So what needs to be said? There are hundreds of dignitaries expected in Moscow on May 9th. We have the Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić, who is expected. President Xi Jinping is expected. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected. We have the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who is also expected. We have the President of the Serbian Republic entity of Bosnia-Miliana, Milorad Modi, who is also expected. We have the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who is expected. We have the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who is expected. I mentioned Robert Fico to you earlier. So, the head of European diplomacy warns those who will participate in the parade and threatens sanctions. But whatever happens, Robert Fico will participate, certainly. Because whether it's Robert Fico or Viktor Orban, here are the rebels of the European Union who are perfectly in line with Russia's spirit. So, what needs to be said is that Kalas, who is the head of European diplomacy, did not provide details on the nature of the sanctions being considered. She simply emphasized that this type of movement would be incompatible with the fundamental values of the European Union in the context of the war in Ukraine. So, participation in this ceremony, highly symbolic for the Kremlin, in the midst of the war against Kiev, could be perceived as implicit support for Moscow. A politically significant message that Kalas seems determined to sanction. So, in clear terms, the European Union says that all those who will participate, while Russia is in full conflict with Ukraine, all those who will participate, that means they are implicitly supporting Russia in its activities in Ukraine. This is the argument being made. Anyway, the European Union holds its breath. They can prohibit, but can they prevent these high authorities from going? We will follow this to the letter. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was one piece of international news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I will be back shortly with more news. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.